Relational distancing occurs in families when people gain physical and emotional space between them and some of their family members. Today, I want to talk about some misconceptions about family distancing that might help you think a little bit differently about this issue. So the first is that family is involuntary. This just simply isn't true. We often think that our blood and legal ties are people that we just have in our lives, right? And that is not the case. We can choose who we want to be our family members. Oftentimes this happens without us even really thinking about it. We call these voluntary or chosen kin, so people in our lives who fulfill the roles of family members who aren't necessarily legally or blood related to us. We know that adult children really can push back on these norms and expectations for family being obligatory by doing things like questioning whether or not shared history is irreplaceable. We can make new histories with new voluntary kin family members, and also questioning biological ties and the importance of having that kind of blood relationship. The second myth is that distancing always equals dissolution. This is also not true. We can gain relational distance from people in our lives who are toxic or maybe don't make us feel good or aren't good for us without completely dissolving the relational tie. So for example, we may create physical boundaries or informational boundaries around what we share with our family, but still see them, right? If there's certain times of year, for example, that are especially hard, we may avoid those holidays. We may move a bit further away from family, but that doesn't mean we've completely severed those ties. And then third is the idea that distance is always negative. This is also simply not true. There are many times in our lives where we gain distance from family, and it's a really good positive thing. Like, for example, moving away for college or moving out for that first job. This is seen as a very normative life transition where children become more independent, and that's part of family distancing. Another example might be military deployment. In addition, if the family relationships are quite toxic, then gaining some distance from family can be a really positive thing. There are 4 ways that family distancing can occur. The first 2 are voluntary and the second 2 are involuntary. The voluntary ways that family distancing can occur include pulling away. So this is where we have one family member initiating distance, and the rest of the family members may agree or not agree that is what they want, but you've got one family member sort of pulling away from the rest of the group. The second way is parting mutually. So here again, this is voluntary. All parties involved sort of agree that some distance would be helpful in this case, and they have some mutual parting and mutual distance agreed upon. The 2 involuntary ways that family distancing can occur are being pushed out. So this is where one family member maybe feels unwelcome, they're not being invited to things, they may be experiencing high levels of disapproval and exclusion from the rest of the family. Typically, the rest of the family does not agree with the way they're living their lives or some decisions they've made, and they feel pushed out from the rest of the family group. And finally, the 4th way is being removed by a third party. So this can happen in cases of incarceration, children being taken by the foster care system. It could also happen if one family member is sick and they have to be hospitalized and they're inpatient. And so there's family distance being sort of foisted upon them by outside forces, and it's not something they're choosing. There are several areas of research that have looked at family distancing, including marginalization and communicating marginalization, the area of estrangement, and also parent-child alienation. And we encourage you to check out research on each of these areas if you're interested in learning more about family distancing.